say. Not a lot of cars, but so much talent in the second rung of the Mazda Road to Indy ladder. The field of 8 now making their way through turn number 9. They will begin to file into rows of 2. 4 rows will make up this field, and Rinus VeeKay will bring the field through turns number 10, 11, and 12 to get race number 1 for this Pro Mazda Series started. And here for the call of the start of the Pro Mazda race, the voice of the Pro Mazda Series, Rob Howden.
Thank you so much, Michael Young, and indeed the drivers getting themselves ready to roll here again. VeeKay, once he takes the green, will be the champion. The weight will be lifted off his shoulders, but you know he's going to go to continue to get this streak. He's won 5 straight races. He wants to make it 7 to cap off the season, put the exclamation point on the 2018 campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Green flag flying. Green, green, green. Racing in the penultimate Pro Mazda race of the 2018 season. They'll make it interesting going into turn number 1. Oliver Askew looks to the inside, but sweeping across from left to right is Rinus VeeKay. One driver taking the shortcut. I think that might have been Nikita Listoshkin, not able to get woed up coming into turn number 1. Otherwise, the drivers have worked their way out of the festival curve and now work this very tough, challenging 4, 5, 6 combination. They'll work through 6 over to turn number 7. And we are now underway with the drivers here in the Pro Mazda category. They'll come out of turn number 7, or 6, to the right-hand turn number 7. Michael Young leading onto the back straightaway right now. Is that Oliver Askew out front?
Oliver Askew got up front. Actually jumped the start, I thought, a little bit. Rinus VeeKay was really slowly bringing them down, and Oliver kept nudging, and Rinus kind of got caught out. Parker Thompson came up, David Malukas came up, and Oliver Askew able to grab the lead. It's Rinus VeeKay second, Parker Thompson third.
Yeah, indeed. Parker Thompson into that third spot. He's got David Malukas right on him. Then it's Stingray Robb now running in the 5th position. Robert McGinnis in 6th. So I believe it's 7th is De La Vera, 8th is Listoshkin. So the top 8 drivers getting the opening lap in. It's a 30-lap race to cap off the day here at Portland International Raceway. Here's a move to the inside further back. That's De La Vera getting a little defensive, trying to hold back Listoshkin. A little early to make that defensive move down into turn number 1. You kind of set the tone for the race back there, Michael Young.
But they've been waiting all day long to go racing, right? They qualified this morning. They've been waiting all day. I mean, they're ready to go. I mean, they're sitting in these cars waiting for this afternoon to progress. But for Oliver Askew, we've talked about this season and how everyone was expecting a little bit more from Oliver. He's just honing his skills, but great start for him. Already to be out to about a 5-car length advantage over Rinus VeeKay. Rinus, of course, has the championship, but Parker Thompson, a strong start to this race. David Malukas as well. I think these top 4, once we get into a rhythm on about lap 4 or 5, you might see them pack back up and a little passing going on.
Well, I think we talk about the fact that the change, the kind of the shift in the whole series happened in Toronto. Rinus VeeKay able to come in, qualifies on pole for both races, wins both races. Parker Thompson, who had the lead coming into the street race north of the border, ends up getting involved with David Malukas. Malukas a little too aggressive into the inside of turn 1. They both end up in the wall, and that kind of changes everything for Parker Thompson. But it also opened the door, I think, for Oliver Askew. He was able to kind of step in, got a couple of podiums there, and he hadn't had that kind of speed, that kind of confidence, I believe, in himself and in the car and in everything they were doing. They were struggling a little bit. But come Toronto, he starts finding some speed. He looked really good at Mid-Ohio as well, had a good run at Gateway, good speed on the oval there, and now finds himself leading here at Portland. A victory right now for Oliver Askew would be huge to continue his push forward to try to get either into Pro Mazda again next year or make the move to Indy Lights.
I think I saw Moises De La Vera spin out in turn number 4. They were right there together, and I saw the back end step out on De La Vera's car. Indeed, he lost. Yeah, something happened that I saw the back end step out about the midway point through turn number 4. We'll see if we can get an eye on Moises De La Vera, but in any case, certainly has fallen back, maybe back underway again, but lost a lot of ground there. See David Malukas starting to close in on Parker Thompson. That will be the battle for 3rd.
Yeah, I want to say even 3rd and 4th. Thompson and Malukas closing up a little bit there on Rinus VeeKay. Rinus dropped the wheel coming out of turn number 7, and that's a damaging place to do that. You lose a lot of ground, a lot of speed when you're trying to make the way up through turn 8 over to turn number 9. Indeed, Thompson about a 10th quicker than VeeKay, and only back by half a second. A 10th means a lot here now, and here they're really trying to close up. Thompson has Malukas just off the rear wing by about 0.4 of a second. That's going to equate to probably 2 to 3 car lengths, maybe. Actually, make that 5 or 6. Thompson starting to close up here on Rinus VeeKay. That would be a battle for 2nd.
Flip-flop that incident. Well, no, it's not Nikita Listoshkin. It was Moises De La Vera. I said De La Vera, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So here's my question to you. What's the mindset right now for Rinus VeeKay? Is it just a big deep breath here right now, the first 5-6 laps, because he's won the championship? It's done. We're not talking about a big trophy. We're talking about $800,000 he just won to be able to go to Indy Lights next year, potentially with Juncos Racing, the team that he's with now, to win this championship. Is the mindset just, wow, I'm going to take a deep breath. I don't need to push quite as hard. Most drivers are going to tell you they're going to keep going for race wins. We saw it at a Pato Award. He wasn't going to take second behind Colton Herta. He wanted to go for that victory and get the win and secure the championship. What's the mindset, you think?
I think he's going to settle back in, let it sink in that he is indeed, as he got the fastest lap of the race this far. I think you just answered your own question,
Yeah.
108.11.45. I think he's just going to settle in, enjoy that moment. I've won the championship. Oliver got around me. Now I think he's going to attack. I don't think he's going to let Parker Thompson even get close to him. Once he gets settled in, and we already see him starting to check out a little bit, I think he just, boy, enjoy this, and I think he's going to go back on the attack and get back on that rear wing of Oliver Askew. But Askew has been setting quick lap after quick lap. Rinus VeeKay finally got the quick lap there.
We know for sure as well that, of course, Rinus, these first 5-6 laps, that's when the car's not perfect. That's when the tire temperatures are not quite there yet. The pressures, you set your pressures a bit low, knowing the tire temperatures are going to come up.
Had a little off, too. You just saw.
You dropped the wheel.
Yep.
So the car's never that great over the first 5-6 laps. It's always going to keep coming in. The fuel load goes out. It gets lighter. It gets more nimble. And, of course, once if he could just calm down and get through that, it's actually kind of a show of maturity that he didn't need to push that hard, settle into second, see where everybody else is matching up. His team's going to be giving him splits between himself and Askew, and then, of course, back to Thompson as well. As they come across the line, Askew a 107.9, VeeKay, the fast lap, 107.8. They're about 0.3 quicker than both Parker Thompson and David Malukas. So VeeKay closing a little on Askew and giving himself a little bit of cushion back to Thompson. That's the way this race is playing out here over the first 5 laps.
And I think he'll go back on the attack. I really don't think he'll push the issue with Oliver Askew. If he has a good opening, forces Oliver Askew into a mistake, I think VeeKay attacks and takes advantage of it there. But I think he'll just ride around now Moises de Oliveira. Whatever the incident was in turn 4, he's currently on pit lane.
A very good run here for Parker Thompson. Coming into this event, Parker not on the biggest of budgets, pretty much out to the rest of what he has here for the end of the season. Had that big incident in Toronto, cost a lot of money. The damage bill there was pretty significant, and they really took a big bite out of any budget they had laid up for crash damage. They came into the weekend here. We had a test day on Thursday, and I don't think Parker put fresh tires on. I think they may add one set of fresh tires. That's it. Other teams using 2 to 3 sets of fresh tires to get ready. Parker just doesn't have the budget. Couldn't win the championships. He's going to have second place pretty much locked up, so no real need for him to spend the money to find that extra pace, but that's going to put you behind just a little bit coming into the weekend. And that's kind of where he's been. He's just been that 1/10 of a second behind all weekend long, although top drivers, all the top 5 getting into the 107s now. 107.7 for Rinus VeeKay, a 107.8 for both Oliver Askew in P1 and David Malukas in P4, and a 107.9 for Thompson in 3rd and Robert McGinnis in 5th, who's been able to get by Stingray Robb.
And you say a 1/10 of a second. It doesn't seem like that much, but in competition this tight, a 1/10 of a second will make or break a race, certainly in qualifying, as we see Oliver Askew now with a 7/10 of a second lead. That battle starting to shape up again. Parker Thompson 3rd, David Malukas wants that spot. He's currently running in 4th.
All you need to be is a 1/10 of a second faster every lap, and it's a 3-second win over a 30-lap race. That's really what it is. You chip away at it. We talked to Kyle Kirkwood a little bit, and he told me, he jumped out to an 8/10 of a second lead. And when I talked to him during IndyCar there, the practice session, or the Indy Lights race rather, he said, I haven't pushed that hard all year long. He says, I got out to that 8/10 of a second. I saw that Rasmus Lindh was right there. I pushed as hard as I could for 2 more laps, and I didn't stretch the gap. So I just kind of settled back to about 90% and was able to hold on to that lead. And then, of course, then the racing happened, the yellow flag. To push, you're trying to get the thing to the very ragged edge, but you got to be smart when the guys are behind you. If they're not going any quicker, you don't need to go any quicker either. Right now, we're watching Rinus VeeKay just slowly chip away at that lead, now 7/10 of a second.
And they trade quick lap, right? Oliver Askew will get the quick lap 1 lap, and then VeeKay will answer, Askew will answer, VeeKay will answer. Parker Thompson, as you said, on the older of the tires, as David Malukas unable to gain any more ground. Robert McGinnis currently running P5. We see Stingray Robb and Nikita Listoshkin and Moises de Oliveira, as we had let you know in turn number 4, had contact, and he sits on pit lane.
just 8 drivers in the field here. We started with 16 at the opening round of the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. We always end up losing a couple drivers as the championship continues, those who may not be in the championship battle, those who have had some bigger incidents that kind of cut into their budgets a little bit. But you look at this field, the top 5 drivers, you look at the amount of race wins they have. Parker Thompson now setting a new fast race lap, not by much, about 5 hundredths of a second. But Thompson's a multi-time race winner in USF 2000, multi-time Pro Mazda winner. David Malukas in fourth, didn't win in USF 2000, only ran a partial schedule last year, but he's already a race winner in Pro Mazda, winning at Road America. Robert McGinnis with a win at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg in USF 2000 last year. Rinus VeeKay winning in USF 2000. He's won 5 straight here, 7 total here in Pro Mazda this year. And, of course, Oliver Askew, the big streak last year, winning the USF 2000 championship. This is the class of Pro Mazda in USF 2000. That's the level of competition is ridiculous in this category.
You had an opportunity to spend time with Rinus VeeKay earlier today, a question and answer session.
With Stingray Robb as well.
At Stingray Robb as well.
The best Q&A we've had all year long.
Really?
It was fantastic. We probably had 100, 150 people around having a good time with us there. The guys were engaging. We were laughing a little bit there. We were talking about what they ate, some of the habits they have. We had a lot of fun with both of those guys. It was great.
So share with the fans who weren't able to watch the question and answer session. Everyone asked Stingray Robb, that can't be his real name.
I asked him that too. He gave me the whole
Tell
deal.
us the story.
Well, again, of course, the family loves Corvettes, so the Stingrays. But both of his grandfathers, I believe, have Ray in their name, and I think one of his grandfathers as well. It's Sterling. So the Stingray kind of works together. I think it's a big excuse of why his dad and mom loved Corvettes.
So exactly.
We'll tell everybody this.
We'll make up this story. Every one of your relatives' name has been Ray. Back into the 1700s.
Yeah. But we also like Corvettes. No, and Stingray's told the story to me before, and people love that. The biggest one was we were asking what they like to eat. Of course, Stingray likes to carbo load. He eats quite a bit. Rinus VeeKay, he's more of a salad guy. He likes to eat fresh, but we asked more about, what do you eat during a race day? Do you eat a lot? I know a lot of racers don't eat, and Rinus said, well, I don't eat a lot because it goes through me very quickly.
Wow. Well,
so that kind of changed the...
Too much information sometimes.
Yes. Changed the dynamic of our Q&A, but it was fantastic. Everybody was laughing. We had a really good time. We had some great questions for the kids. And you know what? For me, it's watching them come from their first year, maybe the first Q&A they ever did, or the first time we talked to them in the paddock 2 years down the road. The way that they've matured, they're just 2 really, really good young men, articulate, just well-spoken, and it was just really a great Q&A here. It was awesome.
And Rinus will make a fantastic champion, just an easy guy to like. As we saw that time down the front straightaway, Parker Thompson took a look to the inside of Rinus VeeKay, thinking that he was just, I'll let you know that I'm back here, and starting to close ground a little bit. Although it's about a 3-car length disadvantage for Parker Thompson, he's at least letting Rinus VeeKay know that he's there.
And lap after lap, Parker Thompson has closed. We're talking about the Q&A, and he's laying down 107.5s, pretty much the same time as the leader, Oliver Askew. Oliver's pulled out about a full second, but Thompson closing right up, no doubt about it. Look at this coming down to turn number 10, 11, and 12. Maybe 4 or 5 car lengths as they come out and onto the front straightaway again. And don't give up on David Malukas. He's a half a second behind Thompson. Both of those drivers starting to close up on Rinus VeeKay.
Parker Thompson took a look right about the start-finish line, right here the lap before, not as nearly close as he was last time by, as Oliver Askew lays down another quick lap of the race, minute 7:42.20. The field working their way through the festival corner. Turns 1, 2, and 3. Now working down into turn number 4. And I believe David Malukas had a little bit of an off there as the right sides went off. And he now, back in through turn number 4. You see that gap, about 5 car lengths between second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, giving a little bit of breathing room, I think, for Parker Thompson, having Malukas with that little bit of an error. Not much, though. He doesn't fall in that far back. Robert McGinnis running by himself in the 5th spot. Stingray Robb in 6th. Back to Nikita Listoshkin in 7th. As we said, Moises De Oliveira with that issue on track. And 3 laps in, he's on pit lane. That's it for him. Still watching Oliver Askew trying to stretch away, though. 1 second advantage, both he and VeeKay turning 107.4 second laps. So, again, we're early in this race. That's the thing. We're not even quite to the halfway point yet. And we got the top 4 drivers separated by just over 2 seconds. Askew onto the front straightaway. VeeKay, Thompson, Malukas. Good shot of them coming down from turn number 12. The long run down to Festival Curves. coming through here, this great 1-2-3 combination. How good is it to be back here at Portland? Watching some of those old videos of Cart and Champ Car, man.
It's been fantastic, and what's been even better are the fans. And everybody have been so great, so appreciative of open wheel racing back. I told you yesterday, I crossed the bridge, wished a young man good morning. He said, I've been waiting for this for 11 years. It's great to be back here at Portland International Raceway, and the racing has ever been as exciting as it's ever been before. Just truly a special place, and great to be back here in open wheel racing back in the Pacific Northwest again. See a couple of drivers drop a tire off every now and again. Explain what that does, because we see it a lot, but it's not just as simple as I have a little bit of a drop, I bring that car back on. You pick up, these tires get so hot that they pick up the dust, the debris, any kind of clag that would be out there. It takes a second or two to burn that back off.
Well, first and foremost, if you do it on the exit of a corner, everything about speed is coming out of the corner quickly. You don't get faster into turn number 1 by going deeper into turn number 1. You're faster in turn 1 by getting on the throttle earlier in turn number 12. You want to stretch the straightaway, but you want to stretch it by getting on the power early. When you drop a wheel like that, you're either going to have to get off the throttle to hold on to the car, or you're going to spin the wheels. You've lost forward bite. You've lost that forward momentum. So that's how it hurts your lap. But you're right. You get off to some of that dirt and you get on there. And remember, these tires, if you were to stop them quickly and touch them, they're like glue. They are absolutely, they're hot, they're sticky, and that's where the grip comes from. Well, the minute you roll off onto the dirt, just consider rolling a lint roller across your cat-covered couch. It just picks up all that dirt like crazy, and there's absolutely no grip whatsoever.
That was a beautiful visual, by the way. I couldn't think of a more, I'd want to say, vulgar visual that I had. I could just see the hair.
I'm not a big cat fan either.
Yeah, I could see dander and stuff everywhere. Thank you for that visual. I think it explains it to the fans, and we will leave that topic, go to another day. As David Malukas starts to close in again on Parker Thompson. Got a good run out of turn number 11 there. David Malukas, if you can keep up this charge, may catch Parker Thompson down into turn number 1.
Yeah, watching Thompson fall off a little bit here in time, a 107.9 last time by, about 0.4 of a second off. Askew resets fast lap, then VK does it. So both of those drivers really going quick, but VK down to the 107.2s. Now, this is what we talked about, Michael, in qualifying. Hey, these Cooper tires are fantastic. You get them up there, they're going to knock out that one magic lap in qualifying. But you watch these guys go quicker and quicker throughout a session. These tires are able they just stay so consistent through a whole run, and as we start to lower the fuel level, the weight of the car goes down as you burn the fuel off. We just go quicker and quicker, and that's a testament to these tires.
It really, really is. We talk about lap times. We're now working lap 15. We just saw 2 of the quickest laps of the race, back-to-back, quickest new fast lap of the race. And the further we get in, we'll still see a quicker lap before this thing is over.
Could be the final lap of the race, to be honest.
Easily be, yep.
To be honest, these tires, these Coopers will just stay so consistent through to the end. Of course, these guys, their tanks are filled all the way up. We're trying to do a 30-lap race here for drivers in the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. 30 laps, and as they continue on, getting those, like we're only halfway through now. Essentially, the crossed halfway flags, 15 down, 15 to go. And now is when these things, the cars start to get a little lighter. Of course, the tires getting a little bit greasier, but these drivers are pros. You can see them pounding through turn number 1. Man, Michael, they are using all of the curbing on the inside of turn number 1.
And they've got the rhythm down now. It's interesting to watch yesterday, the first practice session that we had, and to see them now. Most of the drivers had the toughest time through turns 10 and 11 to get through 12. And now we've seen through every series, they've all discovered the line they prefer, how to attack those corners. We haven't seen near the offs that we saw yesterday. And I know these drivers pushing even harder than they did yesterday. It just takes a little while to figure out what my racecraft likes and how to best manage turns 10, 11, and 12.
It's all about the turn-in, right?
Yep.
Where's my turn-in to turn number 11? I have to hit it so I can get the car to rotate. We talked to Sebastian Bourdais. He wasn't sure what happened to him when he had the incident in the final practice, but he thought maybe just a foot outside of the groove. Just missed the turn-in, the apex point. Off by a foot. By 12 inches. That's it. And you're so far out there, you can't get the car back to the right-hander. And you're right. These drivers have had enough time on the racetrack now. They've had a couple of qualifying sessions. They're into their first race as Rinus VK now closing up to about 0.7 of a second on Oliver Askew. They now know the marks. They know their turn-ins. They've got the braking points in. Yeah, They'll make a mistake. They're not going to be perfectly consistent, but as it stands now, they're very comfortable with this racetrack, their cars, the setup, and that's why Rinus VeeKay is starting to make the move. 0.4 of a second quicker than the leader last time through.
Last 3 times by, it's been a 0.3 of a second disadvantage for David Malukas over Parker Thompson, and he's closed in again. So there we see the gap with our leader, Oliver Askew. Following him, Rinus VeeKay, our Pro Mazda champion. Right behind them, boom, that's Parker Thompson and David Malukas. That is the battle for third. Each time they've come by, David Malukas closed in. Right about turn number 10, 11, and 12, tries to get a good run out. There's been a couple times where he takes a look to the inside just to let Parker Thompson know that he's there. Hasn't had enough speed out of turn number 11 right there, but it looked like Parker maybe wiggled just a little bit out of turn number 11.
One thing you're always trying to do, even if you don't have quite enough speed to make the move, is make sure you fill the mirrors. Anytime a driver comes into a corner, you're going to have that quick little look to the inside. You have a look at the mirror. Want to make sure that lane is open. That's why you know a driver's coming. You've always got to make sure that they're not seeing open racetrack. They're seeing a piece of your race car, whether it's a rear wing, whether you come across to the side, so they look you right in the eye. You've got to make sure you're filling their mirrors, because when you start to do that, that's the pressure you're putting on, and inevitably a driver may make a minor little mistake. Not many of these guys up front are going to do that. These guys are champions and race winners, so it's hard to push these guys up front into a mistake. But if you're relentless with that pressure, you may just get that little crack.
Well, I think it was Sebastian Bourdais, or maybe Alexander Rossi, can't remember, yesterday in one of the IndyCar practices that said, you're busy the whole time in the car. You don't have a lot of time to relax. And you would think on this long back straightaway through that turn number 9 area that you would have time to just kind of refocus yourself. But they said they were busy the entire time in the cockpits of these cars.
I talked to a couple of the guys that I've known for a long time who have raced karts, and I've said, I've heard some guys say this is like a big go-kart track, and they're like, that's exactly what this is. This track is, we're so busy all the time. Through festival, you're just pitching the car all over the place, and then that big, long, sweeping 4-5, 3-4-5 combination, it's all these apexes where you've got the car loaded the entire time. They love this racetrack, and it's interesting. We'll see how it plays out tomorrow in terms of overtakes, but we saw some in Indy Lights. Of course, Pato O'Ward, aggressive into turn number 1. There's probably 2 or 3 places, if a driver's aggressive, they can find a way by.
Well, Parker Thompson has done pretty good job at keeping David Malukas at bay, 0.4 of a second, and every time David Malukas starts to get a little bit closer and feel that he can make a charge, Parker Thompson pulls back out. As there you see the gap back from Rinus VeeKay to our leader, Oliver Askew. It's still about 10 car lengths, but certainly Parker Thompson has put together a couple of good laps. And as you said, 1/10 of a second every time, and you do about 4 or 5 laps like that, you're a half a second advantage then. And Parker's done a good job at trying to break away from David Malukas.
That's the key right there, right? Can he break away and not have to worry about the guy behind him? Because anytime you're pushing to try to move forward, as long as, if you don't have anybody behind you pushing and you know you're not going to potentially lose a spot, you can make that big wide entry. You're not having to kind of run the middle of the track. You're able to let the thing hang out. The minute you got a guy behind you, you're thinking about him as well. Oh, if I get aggressive, if I make this big run to the outside, am I going to lose a spot? If you've got that gap, let's say a half a second or even a full second or 2 seconds, you're not worrying about anybody behind you. Your focus is absolutely forward, and you can start putting down the great laps. And Parker's doing it again. He's got it to within 2 seconds on Rinus VeeKay. About 11 laps to go. Still a long time on the time clock as well. So 11 laps remaining as we try to run this one green to checker. Great job so far for the drivers in this Pro Mazda Championship. The penultimate race of the 2018 season. One more race to go tomorrow. Our championship banquet on Monday. And Michael, it seems like just a blink of an eye ago, we were at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg starting the new season. A brand new race car, the Tatis PM18. It's broken records all year long, but man, the finale is here.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season, and the fact that we've seen a champion in Rinus VeeKay, a driver who came out of the gates a swinging, kind of fell down the middle part of the season, had a little lapse, and then found success in the latter half of the season as well. We've talked about Parker Thompson since his open-wheel career began. Oliver Askew from his championship to the USF 2000 Series and now to Pro Mazda to finish as strong as he is finishing. It's just been a great season of maturation for these drivers, and we definitely have seen the cream rise to the top, but a very talented field, albeit 8 cars remaining in this 2018 campaign. We've seen a lot of maturity and a lot of great driving come at the end of the season.
Well, we know that Rinus VeeKay now with the championship on his side and the scholarship, he's going Indy Lights racing. I personally would tell you I would like to see the remainder of this field stay in Pro Mazda one more year. I think they can all benefit from it, no doubt about it. Parker Thompson, yeah, he's got a lot of experience in USF 2000. He'd be solid moving to Indy Lights. But I think that all these drivers, the remainder of these drivers, could do another year in Pro Mazda and be just absolute badasses and be ready to move to Indy Lights the year after that. It's not like any of them are too old to stay another year in Pro Mazda. This category, with this new race car especially, it's so fast. You talk to them, it's heads and tails better than the older car in terms of how nimble it is, the low-end torque. You throw the thing around. It's really become that perfect gap, that bridge between USF 2000 and Indy Lights.
It's nearly a perfect race car, right? They've really built a fantastic race car. As there we see Parker Thompson and David Malukas trying to close that gap down. That is the battle again for third and fourth. Oliver Askew again with a nice lap, but Rinus VK just turned the quickest lap of the race, minute 7:15.97. We may see a minute 6 before this race is over.
We may. Now, in talking about this race car, one of the things in true reality, there was some engine issues throughout the year. They have done a fantastic job. Everyone at Elite Engines have dialed this thing in. They have worked on this package, and now we have this race engine that is absolutely fantastic. This race car is going to be ridiculously good for the next number of years as the platform for the second rung of this road to Indy. And again, you know what? As we will say throughout this weekend, we'll cap off the day as well. This is, of course, the final weekend to have Mazda on board with us. We want to thank the whole crew at Mazda Motorsports, John Doonan and Kyle Kimball and everyone for everything they've done for so many young drivers. You just got to walk through the paddock and talk to, a guy like Gabby Chavez who won a championship. You got to talk to Spencer Piggott, who have how many scholarships for him coming through. Ed Jones, Kyle Kaiser, so many of these young guys who have really worked their way through the ranks and have benefited by these scholarships. To have Mazda as part of the program, such a great global car manufacturer, to have just kind of their culture as part of what we do. Again, we've seen Spencer Piggott run in their sports car as well. Just great to have Mazda with us for these 9 years. We wish them the best as they focus on their sports car program, and you never know what could happen. We could be back with them one day down the line.
Wouldn't that be something? Team Yost and that sports car effort that they're putting together right now. And as you said, Spencer Piggott has run over there some in 2018. And the big thing about Mazda is we bid adieu to them and all that they have brought in. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Yes, it's a great company. Yes, they're a racing corporation, but they're fans as well. And when they come to the track, it's amazing just how excited they are to be around this sport and what not only what they give, but they're just so supportive as well. They're fans of racing, and that's what makes Mazda such a great partner.
It's it's obviously a company with a culture of racing. But I remember talking to John Doonan early when they wanted to invest some money in karting, and the line they'd use was they want to be a friend of karting. They wanted to spread some investment around in the young people coming up into the sport. They wanted, of course, to have the Mazda name there. But that was kind of one of the early talks I had, probably mid-2000s with John, when they were just kind of starting to get into the lower levels of the open wheel stuff in karting. And I just remember that line. We want to be a friend of karting. And that was obviously what they've been for open wheel racing as well. Again, just that culture top down with John Doonan and his belief in the sport and belief in these young people. And again, every year, even though there's no Mazda badge on those cars in the Indianapolis 500, John and the crew can sit back and say there's 25 of the guys here on this grid of 23 guys and girls, because you got to include, of course, Danica and, of course, Pippa Mann, who was an Indy Lights driver, that have Indy Lights, Pro Mazda, or USF 2000 on the pedigree.
That's and the appreciation level that they have for what Mazda's done, it can't be said enough.
Agreed. 7 laps to go here in Pro Mazda, the penultimate race of the 2018 season. Oliver Askew continues to lead now by 0.8 of a second. They just keep going back and forth on laps. It's really odd to me. No one can really get consistently into the low 107s. There's a 107.4 for Parker Thompson, but 2 laps ago he was a 107.7. This time VK's a 107.7. It wasn't 3 laps ago. He was a 107.1. So these drivers struggling. Maybe it's some of the higher heat in the afternoon, whatever it may be, but they're just not able to really lay down consistently better laps. The gap pretty much has stayed strong. It's down to about 0.6 of a second at one point between the leaders. Askew now with a 1.2 second advantage over Rinus VK. Oliver Askew with 6 laps to go. Michael trying to win his first Pro Mazda race. This would be a huge weight off of his shoulders as well after winning so many times in USF 2000 last year.
Certainly, and I think we talked about that throughout the season, and I know Oliver has been trying so very, very hard to get to the top step of that podium, and just had one of those up and down seasons, but this is what we knew he could do, and for him to be able to get out in front and hold Rinus VK at bay and potentially get the victory here again today is just a statement that how much he has improved improved over this 2018 season. And as you had said a little bit earlier, we had these guys qualifying at 10:35 this morning. So we've had all kinds of series, all kinds of racing. So really the track condition completely different. Maybe not too surprising, although the top three drivers all lay down a minute 7.3 that time, separated by tenths of a second, but finding that consistency.
And go further back at 107.4 for Malukas, 107.8 for McGinnis, 107.7 for Robb, and a 107.8 for Listoshkin. Nikita Listoshkin putting his best laps now down. He's really only right there, 0.3 of a second behind the leader. Nikita finally finding some speed here as well in the number 8. That's how tight this category is. Nikita 22 seconds back, but the car's starting to come in. He's getting a little more comfortable. Backed it off to a 108.6, but he was high 107s there for a couple laps.
And you remember Nikita had the off there in turn number 1 where he had to go through the runoff area, so lost a little ground there. Then De La Vera spun in front of him, so he got checked up there. So certainly that gap had a couple of seconds added with those two incidents that he had at the beginning portion, the opening stage of this race. Now we'll be working lap number 27 of 30 as we complete lap number 26. Oliver Askew, he has a 1 second advantage over Rinus VeeKay, and a second advantage now Parker Thompson has over David Malukas.
Parker Thompson down to a 107.290. I think the best lap of Parker Thompson here for this race. He now about 2.1 seconds back. Too little, too late. Even if he got down to the 106s, he'd have trouble catching up to Rinus VeeKay, but a pretty stout podium as it stands right now. Askew, VeeKay, and Thompson. Again, Rinus VeeKay, if he finishes second here, 386 points. Of course, only 32 points on offer for any of these races. He will have this series championship locked and loaded. Parker Thompson essentially locked as well for that second spot. Oliver Askew, though, in the middle of a scrap with David Malukas for third, and this win definitely looking good to have Oliver Askew P3 in the championship.
It's funny, you said I'd rather see all these drivers remain for another season in the Pro Mazda series, as Rinus VeeKay will now jump to the Indy Light Series. Can you imagine next year just the familiarity for these Portland fans when they come back? If you've got Askew, Thompson, Malukas, McGinnis, Robb, Listoshkin all battling again next year, that's going to be some intense racing.
And I expect we're going to see Moises de la Vera back for a full season. He'll probably have Corey Enders from USF 2000. That's the great thing, too. If you watch the USF 2000 race,
Kyle Kirkwood would be,
he's coming he's coming for sure. And you know those drivers are going to be making the move up. A lot of drivers from USF 2000 coming up, and I guarantee new young drivers coming in the bottom of the ranks, too, because there's at least 3 new teams coming in next year to USF 2000. I would not be surprised to see a grid of 28 to 30 cars in USF 2000 next year.
So Oliver Askew, again, a 1 second advantage. The best lap that time around was by David Malukas, minute 7.3, so about 0.3 quicker. And as you had said, Rob, they keep trading laps. So one lap they'll be at a minute 2, then they'll be at a minute 7.2 or minute 7.6. They just keep losing a tenth here, a tenth there. And David Malukas starting to close back in on Parker Thompson a little bit.
That would be a battle for the final position on the podium. They'll put lap number 28 in the books as they come by. Malukas getting up on the wheel, trying to see if he can't make a move.
Oh, he's coming.
Yeah, he's close. Probably within about 4 or 5 car lengths coming down to turn number 1. You can see how close he is to Parker Thompson as they come across the line. A 107.5 for Thompson, 107.4 for Malukas. He chips away another tenth of a second, just a half a second separating third and fourth, but it's still a 1 second lead for Oliver Askew as this young driver from Jupiter, Florida, trying to see if he can't break through for his first win of the 2018 Pro Mazda season. I think it would be massive for Oliver to be able to get that kind of monkey off his back, that weight off his shoulders. He has not been able to find his way into victory lane here in 2018, and especially in 2017 when you got so used to winning races. It's tough to come out and not be able to do the same thing the next year.
Well, you remember in 2017 when he started at the USF 2000 level, he kind of took him off guard a little bit, the success he had so early, and then he just kept clicking off win after win after win and just waltzed into a championship. He walked into this year, and some people said, what's wrong with Oliver Askew?
Exactly.
And I know he got very frustrated. He goes, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm still this great driver that I was last year. It was just a lot more difficult this year for him to find the victory podium, that top step, and for him, like you said, to get that accomplished today as we see Parker Thompson checking back out from that third-place battle with David Malukas. But it would be great for the fans who have not seen Oliver Askew. The kid is great.
No doubt.
Just it's hard not to like Oliver Askew. It'd be great to see him get a win here today.
He was a top young driver in karting, represented his country at the Rotax Grand Finals. The guy's 6'1". He is crammed into that race car. I guarantee you, these cars are built for those 5'5", 5'6", 5'7" race car drivers, genetically built race car drivers. Oliver, again, over 6 feet. He's jammed into it, but he'll have a huge smile when he gets out of the car. Right now, the final lap for Oliver Askew, a 1 second lead, rather. He'll work his way around turn number 8 through turn number 9 now. It'll be that 10, 11, 12 combination. Oliver Askew for Cape Motorsports, looking to break the goose egg here on 2018. What a big win it'll be for this young American. But again, Rinus VeeKay going to score the championship, coming home in second. But on to the front straightaway, the winner here in Portland, round number 1 of Pro Mazda for Cape Motorsports. And there's John Doonan right there, the winner, Oliver Askew. Kyle Kimball up in the booth, throwing that checkered flag. Kyle, again, from Mazda Motorsports, the passion they have for these young drivers. I'm telling you, there'll be some long faces tomorrow as Mazda ends its support of this road to Indy, because these guys are emotionally involved with the team, the staff, and, of course, all the drivers as well.
Took 15 rounds to do it, but Oliver Askew, the USF 2000 champion from last year, a Mazda scholarship driver, scores his first win in Pro Mazda here in Portland. How's it feel to finally get on top of the box in Pro Mazda?
It's been a while since I've been in victory lane, since Mid-Ohio last year. So it's a huge monkey off my back, especially going into the off season. It's a big help to progress into trying to race next year too. So
yeah, you bring up a good point. We haven't had one of these winter interviews, you and I, in over a year now. Was it getting hard to deal with? Was it frustrating? How did you put up with the lack of success in your first year in Pro Mazda?
Looking back at it, there was a lot of frustrating moments, but adversity, going through adversity like that, I feel like, moving forward, it'll make me a better driver. So there's going to be, years and a couple races that I go through that are going to be really tough. So I think, made me a stronger person. And now to, really take it to him and win the race, I feel really good. It was a hard race too, with Rinus right behind me the whole entire time. My priority was to just not make any mistakes. Speed wasn't an issue, so I'm happy it's over.
Well, you got one more race tomorrow to try to double up in wins. Best of luck tomorrow, and congratulations on your first win in Pro Mazda, Oliver.
Thank you very much, Johnny.